and can you hear us well? The webinar has several functions. You can ask and post the questions during the whole session in the pane that's called the webinars. And then you can also, if you want to ask a question directly, you can also raise a hand. And I will stop the presenter, and you can ask your question. Please let me know if anybody has any technical issues with either hearing or not understanding anything. And we will also share the recording of the webinar at the end of the session, and we will also share the handouts.
Okay.
Oh, I think we can start, Wolfgang.
Okay.
So,
do you want to do an introduction to the next webinars at the beginning, or yeah? You see the slide?
Yes. As Wolfgang has mentioned, this is one of the series of the Smarter Together webinars, and today's is on smart lampposts and e-government in Munich. Tomorrow at 11:30 there is another webinar as well at 11:30 on energy efficient private housing retrofitting. And then next week on the 23rd of May is another webinar on citizen engagement and the famous Vienna Seamobile. So if you're interested, please do join us back on any of these times and any of these days. If you cannot make it, it's also possible to then follow afterwards. As I said, all the webinars are being recorded, and all the information will be then shared on the Smarter Together website. Yeah.
Okay. Veronica, thanks a lot. So today we are in the web seminar about smart lampposts and e-government. My name is Wolfgang Glock. I'm IT strategist at the City of Munich and in the department for IT. And there I'm team lead in a team for e-government and open government and smart city. Within this project, you see on the left-hand side above, that's Smarter Together. Yes, as already mentioned, I'm the so-called ICT cluster lead in Munich. And I have a team of some people, and we work intensively together with partners within the organization of Munich and with other partners within the project itself. What I want to introduce or describe is first some words about the Smarter Together and short introduction. Maybe you already know some of these parts. And then I go to the ICT cluster topics we have here in Munich in detail, especially these issues about lampposts and what we will do with these and what we already have as results. And then I will give an overview to a use case and then some words about participation and involvement, because it's very important to involve the people within these kind of projects to have transparency and acceptance. And then we have time for discussion. If you have any questions, Veronica already said, yeah, please come up, raise your hand, and it makes it more interesting when we interact within this presentation. Then I always talk and I have no interaction with you. But in the end, at the end of the discussion, we can interact and have some questions I can answer. Okay, what we are, that's the Smarter Together project. There are the so-called lighthouse cities, that's Grand Lyon, Munich, and Vienna. And we are working together for 5 years within this project, Smarter Together. It starts in February 2016, and we have to finish everything in January 21. And up to next year, January, we have to build all the things and all the ideas. And then the follower cities, that's Santiago de Compostela, Sofia, and Venice, they will hopefully use our innovations, probably adapt them, and then we have in the end, better, smarter cities. And Kiev and Yokohama are observer cities. So these are the partners within the consortium in Munich. So you see, beside the city itself, we have some companies belonging to the city, like the Stadtwerke München, the mobility company, the MVG in Munich. But we also have industrial partners like Siemens and Securitas, the bigger ones, and then smaller ones like Stadtauto for car sharing, or some companies for refurbishment and consultancy in this area. Then we have the universities the science part, that's the TU München for participation, the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft or Uni St. Gallen for the business models. So that's an overview on our partners in external. And there we have an overview on the departments involved within the city. Sorry, it's always a little bit difficult to translate these department names. So one is the Referat für Stadtplanung und Bauordnung. That's for the city planning responsible. Then we have the Referat für Arbeit und Wirtschaft. That's for the economy stuff. And then we have this IT department called Referat für Informations- und Telekommunikationstechnik, and it's very important to have the Baureferat, who are responsible for building all the stuff within the city, on board in our project. So what's the project area? That's in the western part of Munich. That's Neuaubing-Westkreuz. That's an existing district. In the middle, you see here, I will show with the mouse pointer. Here, that's existing buildings and very inhomogeneous infrastructure, older buildings, newer buildings. And here on the left side, we have Freiham North and South. That's a completely new area built up until 2025. And there will be new residents, about 20,000 or 25,000 people, and a big area for commercial stuff with a large number of new jobs we will create here in this area. That's the biggest development area currently in the city of Munich. And yeah, in the end, we have 60,000 residents. And in this area, we are trying all these innovations within the Smarter Together project, and hopefully give this to the rest of the Munich area as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, if we talk about the smart city, when you deal with this project, with this topic, then you can find many different definitions in the internet. But these are always from the position, the one who is defining the term city, smart city. So that's, I prefer to use some characteristics instead of definitions. So for me, it's smart city is improvement or a better quality of life. the topic of robustness of the infrastructure, many more services, smart services for the citizens to make the life better in the city. It's somehow as well the participation and involvement of the inhabitants. Then all the stuff we do is very important that we have transparency and acceptance to the people involved in this. Then we want to improve the knowledge of the society, have more sustainability, and yeah, reduce all the bad impact we have in our cities at the moment. So about pollution, traffic, and all this. So reduce and make the quality higher to live in the city and reduce the impact. What we are doing in Munich, that's different areas. That's the mobility. You will have a webinar as well, and about energy. And then we have the technology area I will talk about, and very important, that's the citizen engagement in the center. Otherwise, we will not have the acceptance of the people. So the mobility stuff, that's smart mobility. There we build mobility hubs, and we want to provide special services to the people, like sharing opportunities, and to improve this, but that's a topic of another webinar. And then we have the energy stuff, and there we have the building refurbishment, and challenging thing in this is that we have not just say, okay, this building has to be refurbished and that's finished. So we have these buildings belonging to many people, so we have to have the decision that everyone agrees to this refurbishment, and then this only will happen. And that's this agreement, this 100% or 70% agreement, is very difficult to get. And then we have some smart energy stuff, and an energy grid we provide to the buildings. So, but now coming to the technology part, there we build urban labs, we call, with these fantastic lampposts. Then we collect all the data within a smart data platform, and then we provide services to the people using a mobile app, the city app, or using the internet and other channels to provide new services to the people. Later, I will come to the interaction of these three parts and describe it more detailed. In the beginning, I want to tell you something about these lampposts, these humble lampposts as called, these intelligent infrastructure we will provide within the project. So these intelligent lampposts are a multi-purpose infrastructure for sensor and actuators in urban areas to create smart services. What does that mean? In Munich, we have about 80,000 lampposts. This infrastructure belongs to the city of Munich. We are running this infrastructure. We can install as much as we like. Okay, and there are some restrictions, but it belongs to the city, and we can do nearly everything with this if we support, the lights, then have security issues in the city with this lamppost infrastructure as well. So, but we want to extend this infrastructure to more usage than just giving light in the evening or in the night, but have additional services installed on the lampposts. So here you see a picture of the area. It's in the southwestern part of this project area. That's the so-called Bodenseestraße. There we have already installed our special lampposts you see on the right and left of the street. These are 21 lampposts, and on the left-hand side you see a prototype. It's a one-to-one prototype, but not 10 meters high, but 2.5 meters high. That's the part of the lamppost we can install various equipment. I will come to that later. And okay, what we did in the beginning, we had discussions about how to this construction should we buy a lamppost from the market or should we do it on our own? I will come to the different discussion issues about this lamppost later. So in the end, we had our own construction, and then we started a tender process to purely buy the lamppost itself and the equipment you see here on the left side. That will be installed by the city on our own. So we have here in this tender process only the pure metal pole. Then it's very important to have a completely encapsulation of the lighting, because it's a legal issue to support the light in Munich. So to keep the traffic safe and the environment safe, and that's why we want to separate all the additional smart stuff from this issue to have this lighting infrastructure. Within this area of Smarter Together, we will install 60 intelligent lampposts, and then we want to start an innovation competition on sensors and actuator-based solutions that we call open call. I will come to that later. So this is the area. You see the map where all the different kinds of results should be placed within this area. So the blue ones here, these small blue ones, that 8 mobility stations we will install. And then we have this yellow stuff that's for the energy refurbishment, the ideas where we wanted to place them. And then these red ones, that's the areas where we have these lampposts installed. The picture we just saw, that's this area, that's the Bodenseestraße, and there we have these 21 lampposts already installed. In these other areas, we have already finished the installation, and we are preparing for providing, for example, the public Wi-Fi infrastructure. Here we have 23 lampposts, 10 meters high. That's the Liemesstraße and Wiesenfelder Straße. And then here on the left side, we have some specific situation. We have a park, a pathway going through this, and that's why we have a smaller type of lampposts. These are 3 meters high, and these are already installed as well. So when we started the discussions about the lampposts, so I'm an IT. I studied IT, and that's why it was not easy to go into this topic of lamppost, because that's metal, that's for the engineers more or less. But there were very interesting discussions upcoming, that we have different things to address, that we have framing conditions, that we have cross-sectional requirements, that we have technical requirements, then even we have discussions about the shape and how we will build these lampposts. And then, the additional functionality we want to provide. That's the infrastructure we want to have for the innovation. And these different areas I will show you right now. So the framing conditions when we start these discussions about light infrastructure, that the city needs to ensure the road safety. That's a framing condition. That's our contract, our issue, that we have to provide and absolutely follow this rule that we provide the road safety. Then we have the responsibility to operate all this infrastructure. Okay, we can give this to companies, they will be happy about this, but in Munich we have the Baureferat, and they are doing all this stuff very good, and providing all this infrastructure, not only the lighting, but the streets as well. And that's why we want to be responsible for the light, for the power supply, and we want to have the complete control on this infrastructure. Then it should be an independent infrastructure for the light. It should be independent from our innovation infrastructure for the sensoring and actors. And that we are some kind of some tenants in the lampposts. Like if you have a big house, a building, then people live there, but the building itself belongs to a company, and they will ensure all the safety and do the refurbishment. But we are living in this and have specific requirements and using services, building services. That's the model here in this project. Then we have the cross-sectional requirements. The new lamppost should be similar to the traditional ones. Means it should, in the best way, it should look the same. And that you don't even see a difference between these lampposts. These should adapt to the costs, the availability, and the delivery time is very important. If you want to buy in later time more and more of these lampposts, it's very important to have a standard lamppost which can be delivered in large numbers. It should be very simple to replicate. It should exist of. It should use existing elements, systems, and follow standard conventions. We have standardized elements. We have standardized interfaces, and we can build a modular structure that we can combine different things and have a combination of solutions and accepted standardized infrastructure. And for the separation of the operating spaces, that was very important to have 3 different areas. Some are only available for the Baureferat. That's the lowest part here. That's for the light infrastructure. There's a special key we cannot access from the project. So we have here the light infrastructure. Then here we have the infrastructure for power supply, for the innovation solutions, and for the communication infrastructure. And this is the area, the third one on the top. There we will build all the infrastructure for the solutions for the sensor and actoring systems. Then we have some technical requirements. If many different solutions should be implemented on this lamppost, that's very important to have electrical safety, and that you can separate the systems and they can install and substitute independently of the rest of the system, especially from the light infrastructure. So it should be efficient construction, and the operation should be easy. That's why we decided to use a pole or a lamppost similar to the ones we already installed in the city. So you don't need special equipment, tools, or special knowledge to operate these systems. We can use the existing processes, and the teams are already convenient with these infrastructure. We want to have easy integration within the existing infrastructure. So we will have later some pictures about the environment and how we install these lampposts. It should be, yeah, as we know it from the other solutions. Then we have to address the physical requirements about the temperature and humidity. We are planning to have sensors even inside the lamppost to get more information about the climate inside of these lampposts, because it's very important if we have these sensor systems installed that we get an impression what's the difference between the lowest and the highest temperature, what's the humidity inside these components, and the lifetime of the components installed is very important. These requirements like temperature, that we can know that we can have some information how long these devices will work within the infrastructure. Yes, we need in Germany a special power supply for running the sensor and actuator infrastructure. That's a legal issue. We cannot sell the power for the light infrastructure to these sensor providers, so we have to install a separate power supply. And for the communication with our smart data platform to transfer all the information to some other place, we need an internet access. So we have this public Wi-Fi installed and have cable-based internet as well. And then we want to have a flexible infrastructure, and we want to install the sensors and actuators as required. For example, the sensors for pollution are typically installed on a height of 4 meters. That's another issue we want to address with this technical requirement. Then about the shape and yeah, how innovative we can design these lampposts. On the lower right-hand side, you see a picture of a lamppost. This we don't want. It's like a Christmas tree, we call it in Germany. So that's ugly from the point of view of the city. And if possible, we want to install all these components in underfloor distributors, but here with this 10 meters high lamppost, we have enough space to install it inside the lamppost itself. We want to have external components only if necessary, so, and they should look smart and look like the design of the lamppost itself, like the color. It should not overloading. Yeah, it should use existing elements we already installed on the street lighting. Should be nice. And it's important to not have many different kinds of lampposts, but have some kind of pole family and a construction kit so that we can combine different elements, but not in a large number. And then we have some standardized construction kit to use to be installed in the complete city. So here we have this urban lab again. That's the Bodenseestraße, and here you see the lampposts. These have light on 10 meters and of 6 meters for the pedestrian ways. And here, yeah, all this infrastructure will be installed, and we have these 3 operating spaces with these lampposts. Here you see the operating spaces again. Yeah, you have the space for the lighting. That's a restricted area. We have special keys only some people can access. And then we have this power supply and the Wi-Fi equipment. And then we have on the 3rd operation area, we have these power supply for and switches for the LAN if we want to have a wire-based communication, and then we can install other equipment inside the lampposts. Most of the sensor solutions will carry the sensors and the operating system in one box, and this is installed outside of the lamppost. So we will see in the next step what we will install in this 3rd part of the lamppost with other solutions we are looking for. Here you see some pictures about the installation of the lamppost in the area of the Bodenseestraße. There we had the special task to be very flexible in this installation, because this area was already on construction when we started the project itself, so the Smarter Together project. That's why we installed a very flexible infrastructure, and we have these poles with this platform adapter on the bottom, and yeah, that's very easy to install and deinstall these lampposts. And here you see all these different kind of cables coming out. That's power supply, that's fiber for the Wi-Fi. Yeah. And then another picture, that's the Limesstraße, that's the area in the middle of the Smarter Together pilot area. There we have another kind of lampposts. We have not these platforms, but we have only these pieces we stuck in the ground. But the upper part is similar to the other type of lamppost in the Bodenseestraße. And there you have these infrastructure as well. So this power supply, one for the lamppost, for the lights, and the other one for the sensor infrastructure and the Wi-Fi. And then we have this fiber for the Wi-Fi access. And that's the 3rd type of lamppost, that these smaller ones in this green area. That's 19 of these 3-meter high lampposts. And these are much smaller, and that's why we don't have that much space to install all the required stuff. And so we have these underground installations where we put the power supply, the equipment for the Wi-Fi, all in this underground boxes. And we will see what will happen when it's raining and all this stuff. So we have a pilot installation, and we will get many results from this experiment within the project. And then we will improve the lamppost construction and have another version of this later on after the project, I think. So coming to the equipment we want to install on the lamppost, and what are the ideas and the solutions we are looking for to use this lamppost infrastructure within the project. So we want to have sensor systems to measure temperature, humidity, emissions, surface conditions, wind speed, all this stuff. I think it's very important to not only have this information from some central points in the city. So in Munich we have 5 points where we get all this information from, and then we have some calculation and mathematical models to calculate the conditions in other area of the city. And we want to get more information local in the district and to improve these calculations or even verify that these are okay. And then, on the other hand, we want to collect more detailed information about the traffic with the intention to optimize the traffic flow in the future, to have better planning data, to have feedback from some task or activities to reduce the traffic and get more detailed information through the whole day using specific sensor systems. Another issue is in the managing of the parking spaces. In the Limesstraße, we have some parking space on the road side, and there we have shops, and we want to improve this park space management in this area. The topic of charging stations, we are currently not following to integrate these in the lampposts for some special reasons. I can talk about this some 5-10 minutes. What was the decision why we don't install the charging stations within the light in the lampposts, but that is another topic. Then we want to provide services depending on the weather. For example, if we have covering ice on the surface of the road, we can inform assistance services. That's a more future perspective. And we are looking for security and safety solutions as well to, for example, for pedestrian ways beside the road or crossing the road. There we are looking for safety and security solutions. And probably we have some gamification installations to improve health. We will see. That is searched in a, we call it open call. I think it's the next slide. Yes, here. So within the project of Smarter Together, we had the idea to have a tender for innovations, and we called it open call. So we provide the infrastructure of the lampposts beside the road, have this pilot area, have the infrastructure for power supply and the Wi-Fi connection and all this stuff, and then offered it to the market, to startup companies, to engage people, and try to find solutions interesting to install on the humble lampposts. So we had a first open call, and the result I will show instantly. That started October last year, and that was for the topic of pollution, climate data, and environmental data like wind speed and rain. We want to collect using sensor systems installed on the lamppost. And on the other hand, now we are starting in June, I think, a second open call. We want to address other issues. Planned topics are about traffic information, that we can count cars and vans and all this stuff, or even people. Always looking on the public data stuff or the privacy of the data. That's always addressed in our topics. And then we want to have parking space management solutions, safety solutions, probably something about gamification, or even give some actuators, some displays installed on the lamppost to give information to the local people passing by the lamppost. So that's our issue to identify by this way. Innovations within the market give companies the opportunities to try their solutions in real infrastructure of a city. And there we had this first open call, and we had two winning companies. And on one hand side, it's the Havadava. That's a startup located in Munich. They are now starting to install their sensor systems in various cities in Europe. For example, they have a large project in Zurich coming up, and now we are a large project here in Munich, and they are measuring air quality and weather. And then on the other side we have Vaisala. That's it's in Finland, a company with a longer history, and there we have some different kind of sensor systems for air quality, and then these environmental and weather data, even the wind speed and rain and all this stuff. So it was our intention to even have two solutions on the same topics to compare these solutions and the efficiency and fails the comparison of these data, which are more correct, or how does it work in the installation and the running of the system. These sensor systems will be installed in this area on these different locations. So we have Havadava on 4 different places, and the Vaisala equipment installed on this street crossing here in the upper part of our urban labs. In the end, we want to collect all this information together on the smart data platform, and then provide some kind of air quality map and see what's the different, how the different areas in this pilot area, what the different kind of air quality is. This is the simple flow of the data, and then I will come in the next slides to the smart service solutions we will provide. So on the left side, we have this lamppost, we have the sensor systems, we have this Wi-Fi installed. Then in the middle, that's a smart data platform currently provided by Siemens. It's called the City Intelligence Platform. There we collect all the information, and not only the information from the lampposts, but we want to collect other data sources or use other data sources as well, counting of the traffic, open data available about weather, temperature, and all this stuff. Other sensor solutions which will come up in this area as well, for example, from the mobility stations. So we have this smart data platform, and there is this data gatekeeper. Here, I'll go with my mouse pointer. That's a special thing. In the discussions with using smart data, there's always coming up the issue of data privacy, data security, what we can use for the solutions, where we have to be careful. The people ask us what kind of data we are collecting. We want to have to be transparent. And that's why we decided to have this kind of abstract concept. We call it data gatekeeper, Datenwächter, and we provide there a white paper or conceptual paper, which is developed by Fraunhofer, especially with our support. And this will be one important issue to give some hints, some advices to organizations starting within the smart data topic, other cities. So not to start from the scratch and have some already information available. And so start on a higher level and don't do the mistakes we do in our project, or have some success hints to success factors as well. And then on the right hand side, we have the services, because it's important to collect data, but it's more important to have solutions and services to the people, the public and the administration as well. And that's in our case, it's one thing is the city app we are developing, but I will come to that later. So here we have an overview on the smart data platform. As I mentioned, it's currently provided by Siemens, but it should be a general architecture to any smart data platform. In the center, we have the smart data platform, so collecting the data. There the data are classified. We have processes, how to import, how to process, and calculate more derived data, and have some guidelines inside the data platform, and then have APIs to offer these data in a standardized way to the different solutions or the data consuming applications. And that's in the middle. And then we have this data gatekeeper. That's this concept paper, this white paper, where we address legal, strategic, organizational, and technical issues, and try to illustrate this by discussing all this stuff within a special use case. On the lower part, we have all these data providers from energy, from mobility, from our urban labs, and from other data sources. And there we involve the stakeholders. Probably we even try to identify crowd data, so the people collect the data and provide it to the data platform as well. On the other hand, we have this solutions we provide on the smart data platform. That's the transparency dashboard. I will come right after this slide. And there, the analysis dashboard, we want to illustrate all the solutions and derived information from the smart data collected in the platform, like how is the traffic flowing through the district, what's the climate issues, what's the pollution, this This air quality map we want to include in this analysis dashboard as well. On the other hand, we have these apps like the Munich City App or other solutions. We will provide this on this app platform to give information to the people living in the district. And then we can even connect other users like an open data portal we are using in Munich and some external databases we provide the data to, and partners within the project or outside the project can use this data for their own solution, which can then be integrated in the Smart City app, for example, again. Very important is this issue about transparency, what kind of data we are collecting. Always the people ask us, yeah, do you collect private data? Can I be identified when I walk by the lampposts? And this transparency dashboard is an overview on all the data we are collecting on the Smart Data platform, and there is given for each data set description, what is collected for what intention, what's the classification, it's open data, it's private data, it's restricted data, what kind of solutions are derived from this data. So that's an overview, and I think we have with this platform a very transparent handling of the data, and we had a very positive feedback from the people involved within the project. And then we have the city app. That's another task we have to provide within the project. In the first step, it was only intended that we have some interface to the collected data, and that we can show the people, okay, on this lamppost, this kind of data is collected, like the temperature, the air pollution, and all this. During the discussions within the city and the involved partners, we noticed that it's important to have a more accepted and more broad platform for having services for a smart district, for a smart city. And that's why we incorporate other services like transportation, there where the public transportation systems, where the stations for this and when is the next bus coming. We have some routing functionality, and here we also included all these services called e-government provided by the city that we want all to integrate, to interact, and to have a network of functionality to get a higher acceptance of this city app and more use by the people. The city app is already available on iOS. If you look for München.de, there you can download, and in end of May we will have it available in the first version on Android as well. So this is a use case I want to illustrate how this complete infrastructure is working together. That will be functionality also provided in the Munich City app. Now not available, but beginning of May, or end of May, we will have it in the Android version, and after this in the iOS version as well. So starting on the left-hand side, we have these smart lampposts with the sensor systems. Then we collect environmental and pollution data put it into the smart data platform. Everything controlled by the data gatekeeper elements, so the access control, the calculations, the to agree to have the safety of the data provided. And then we integrated with geodata, so geolocated data, like where is the lamppost located in this area, so that we can have position on a map. Put all this together, and then you can visualize all this data. We have a name of every lamppost. We can show the live data currently collected, and have a maximum of transparency shown within this map, integrated as a service in the Munich City App. The intention of this City App is as well to integrate very flexible other services coming up within the district. So not only the services provided within the project or developed by the partners, we want to integrate solutions or interesting innovations from the market as well. For example, we're doing hackathons with students, and here on the left-hand side you see some application about improvement of the behavior of the people living in the district, use more bikes, public transport, and this is a nice example, and that we can integrate in the City App platform as well. And on the right we have the solution, one of the solutions within the energy part, and there we have the smart home sensor devices installed in some flats, and there you can see what's the temperature at home and what's the humidity. That should be all integrated within the City App. So now I'm coming to the end of illustrating all the things we have developed, or we are currently developing in this ICT area. And now I want to give just some hints or information about the participation of the people within the project. That's the so-called Stadtteillabor. This building existed for 2 years or 1.5 years. There we were using these spaces to interact with the people, to have workshops, to involve the people, to show our successes or our progress. This Stadtteillabor was now moved to another location, and we would be happy to see someone attending here in this Stadtteillabor to directly see what we are doing. And the participation of the community is a big issue as well, because we can do many solutions on our own, but it's more interesting to involve the community, startup companies, and that's why we are doing bar camps or hackathons. We just had one last week, and discuss the issues within the Smarter Together project as well, and get a feedback from the people. We have other tasks or things we do. For example, we have a Bürger team called, so a small team of people working together frequently, have meetings with them, do information with them, ask them about opinions about the things we are doing. That's some other issue. And An overview you can get on the web page called smarter-together.de or EU, and then you can have an overview on these participation tasks. And what we are building as well, you see down on the slide there another link. That's a knowledge carrier. Veronica is involved as well. Yeah. And there we show our task and have a map, a very nice 3D map, and you can get there more information. And yeah, we target here even the politicians because we need their support. That's very important. We have this platform used for the follower cities to start discussions, experts, and even for the press and the media, because it's very important not only to spend money, but to talk about the successes and that more people be involved. And yeah, we get more ideas what we should do next. Okay, so from my part, I'm finished. And now, yeah, maybe you have some questions. Thanks. Hello, Veronica?
I am here. I have not seen any questions, so if you would like to raise your hand, or if you would like to post the question into the question pane, we will be happy to answer them. So Gonzalo Cabezas, I think, has a question. I will unmute you.
Yeah. Hello. Hi. I see your question. Yeah. The Havadava. Okay. The Havadava. There, some people. Maybe you switch off your microphone, then I can. Okay. So you hear me again, hopefully. This Havadava stuff there. This equipment is, the size is about 40 centimeters to 40 centimeters. This contains various different modules responsible for different measurements. And these are installed on a height of 4 meters outside the lamppost. And then the power supply and the communication supply goes inside the lamppost. Yeah, accessing these, in this area, there we have this connections, or it's installed by Wi-Fi and have a non-wire-based communication. Here, this picture, one from Havadava, is installing this sensor systems at the reference measurement station in the Sonnenstraße, that's in the center of Munich. Then we can compare the data collected or measured by these sensors of Havadava to the reference measurements within the city. That's a very important information to identify the fault between these sensor systems. Hopefully that's addressed. Okay, fine.
Is there anyone else with other questions? You can either ask directly or you can type it in the pane as you please.
Yeah. In the end, I will show my last slide here. So If you have any questions or want to have more detailed information, for example, about the open call, here are our email addresses. So we are a team of 3 in the center. I'm responsible for the urban labs, and I'm the task lead. And then we have Uwe Montag as a specialist for the smart data platform, and Franziska Meyer responsible for the Munich City App. And behind these people are a large number of team or people involved as well. And it's a very dynamic developing these topics. Yeah, every time, every day comes something new up. Okay.
If there are no further questions, thank you all for attending. Thank you to Wolfgang, and as you have heard, you can contact him with any further items and questions at his email. You will also. Okay, there's another question by Gonzalo. Wolfgang?
Yeah. Okay, I've seen it.
Yeah. So one question is whether we consider one maintainer per service, and the other question is, as urban lab, can anyone do pilots or tests in the area?
So starting with the second question, we are within this open call. We try to find companies, startups, interesting solutions from them to install in this area, and therefore we were very open. Okay, we are restricted to have these open calls because we are administration and we have some tender process to get the offerings and to give points to them and to decide which one we want to install. That's why we have these 2 waves. The first one is finished, and then we have these other topics in the second open call. And what will be the next steps that will come up. But there we are very open. And if there is an offering to these topics, then we will have a look at, and then there's a competition within this tender process. We hopefully identify interesting information. For the maintaining, so the maintainers or the responsible for the lamppost itself, that's our department, the Baureferat. So they are the main responsible people for the lighting, and they are always involved when someone wants to install some solutions on the lampposts. But on the other hand, everyone who is installing a solution to the lamppost, he is responsible for maintaining his solutions, and if there's a problem, he has to come and substitute some components. That's part of the tender, that we looking not only for the solutions, but also to the maintenance and the support of these solutions, because otherwise we don't have the knowledge, or our Baureferat has not the knowledge how to maintain this. So it's working in a team together with some administrative regulations. Okay, you're welcome. Okay.
Any other questions? Did anybody else think of anything while we were answering the questions of Gonzalo? Okay, in that case, I'm gonna thank you again for your attention, and thank you to Wolfgang. And as said, if you would like to follow up with Wolfgang. There is the email, and all the recording of the webinar, including the presentation, will be published on our website, www.smartertogether.eu. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.